has jammed up the greasy husband move.
Yeah.
Where you're somewhere you're not.
That greasy line of, I got to run, I'm jammed up right now. That's been rolled up in toilet paper and tossed in the garbage.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no way. No getting out of that one.
It's a tough one.
I
can't get reception up here.
These secret societies, like that is hilarious.
Can't get reception.
Yeah,
up
the reception thing too.
Where are you? I'm a young and bluer.
No, that was the line before you left. By the way, the place we're going, it's a crap hole. There's no reception, so I'll just see you when you get back.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
In 2023, there is like fiber everywhere.
Well,
you get 5G
Elon
everywhere.
Musk has like free internet from like space, doesn't he? Or like something.
Go
like
on, Find My iPhone. The guy's playing in a men's league tournament in Vegas.
Yeah, Find My iPhone also
a
difficult procedure for a lot of people. Listen, that swings both ways.
Yep.
Let's be honest, ladies. I don't think it's 100%
don't
true.
even go there and
going to
act
work,
like
working
it's
hard, and they come home with like beautiful nails, eyelashes,
There's a lot
whatever.
going
like,
on.
My day is stacked today. Don't tell. I'm so busy, can't do it. Come home, fluffed up hair, nails are dialed in, shopping bags, and not a sniff of work.
Yeah, well, it happens. It happens,
It
right?
goes,
It's a
you're
two-way
right.
street.
It's a two-way street. It's not just
two-way
one.
street.
Yeah.
All right, Jonas Siegel will join us here in a moment. Our buddy Jonas from The Athletic, and he's written an article.
It's spicy.
It is. Because everyone's talking about what's going to happen here with the main players in Toronto, right?
Right.
Like now it's basically a foregone conclusion. Sheldon Keefe is going to return. There's no reason to believe Austin Matthews will not be returning, right? The reports have been out there, extensive reports. He wants to be back. Of course, the Leafs want him to return. So, okay, you put that aside. John Tavares is returning just because of his contractual status. And he's got a full no move, full no trade, not going anywhere.
Right.
That's put aside. So you're really talking Marner, Nylander, I guess Morgan Riley, could factor in as well. But it appears to be going in a direction where the main players are likely going to return, and Jonas has written an article on that. Now, if that's the case, they still have money to work with in terms of filling out the rest of the roster. But Chris Johnston was on the morning show this morning, and he was asked point blank, what does he see happening here with the likes of Ryan O'Reilly, who's a UFA, or will be, right. Noel Acciari, a UFA, Luke Schenn, a UFA. Here's what CJ had to say on the morning show about those players in particular and what could happen between now and July 1st.
Typically, you would think that those contracts, if someone was going to be coming back, would be done. There is still time, of course, to maneuver here, and I think that dialogue has continued with the Leafs and some of their free agents. It's not as though the door has been closed. I don't think 100% on any of them at this point in time, but the Leafs did have some organizational meetings last week to start to plan their way forward for free agency.
So, the point he's making is generally if you felt like the player was 100% engaged and the team definitely wanted it to happen, then like you're seeing signings already pop up around the league.
Yeah.
Guys are signing 1-year deals, 2 years, 5-year deals, exactly. Or if Luke Schenn was returning and it was understood that both sides were going to do whatever they could to make it happen, then it could possibly be done by now. Or at least you'd hear, the insiders would be hearing that it's moving in that direction. Doesn't appear to be happening.
Right.
So, again, things can change, and CJ did qualify that by saying things could change between now and July 1. But, I wasn't expecting O'Reilly to return. I just didn't see how that was going to fit based on what he's going to ask for. But Acciari and Schenn, I thought they would hammer away at and try to make that work in some capacity.
Yeah.
If both guys leave, I would be surprised. But it appears as if it could be moving in that direction. Joining us now on the Maple Toyota Hotline, here's our good buddy Jonas Siegel from The Athletic and one of the veterans of this program right here. How you doing, Jonas?
I'm well. I'm interested in the conversation.
Yes.
Well, you're the one who sparked it
Because
with
you
your
have
article.
a big ego. All you want to do is know about what we think of your piece.
No, actually, I don't really care.
No, the comment section? It's probably on fire, isn't it?
I do think, I don't know. I don't ever look at that stuff. I do think the only thing that's different with this, like with what you guys are talking about with Acciari and Schenn, is their GM was hired on June 1st. So, maybe he spent, I would presume he spent the last few weeks, poring over the roster. There's obviously the Matthews situation. There's the Nylander situation. There's the coach. There's hiring an assistant coach. There's a lot to be done. So, maybe it's not the same as in other markets where he might still be going through the process of like, what do we need? What should we re-sign Shen? What price? Should we re-sign Noel Acciari? What's the price? What's the term? You know what I mean? Like, that's why I think it might be a little different here, but I'm with you guys. I would be surprised if both those guys are gone or would have been.
Yeah. Like a month ago, right? Like the day after they lost to Florida, I would have figured it was likely that now maybe neither player wants to return or both players feel like they have more of an inflated
a little bit more
value around the league and more leverage,
yeah.
and that's reasonable. And maybe they've been looking towards July 1st for a while and thinking we want to get there and see what's out there, which is within their right. But I thought one of those two, if not both, would certainly be targets, regardless of who the GM was, because they just feel like veteran, tough, good depth pieces that I thought played really well as Leafs, Acciari and Shen in particular.
I guess with Shen, though, maybe Tree Living likes some of the other guys like him in free agency. Like, that possibility exists in my mind, too. Like, there's so many of those, like, big, tough kind of defensemen, and he really seems to like those types. So maybe, I don't know, like, just throwing a name out there, like, maybe he likes Carson Soucy more, or maybe he likes, I don't know, maybe he likes Radko Gudas more and wants to pay him, and maybe he doesn't want, like, maybe Luke Shen ends up being like a fallback option, but you got to figure after the way the playoffs went for someone like him, some team out there is going to look at Luke Shen and be like, we want that guy on our team. July 1.
Jonas, I mean, you write the article. I thought it was terrific. And do you do the headline as well? Because it says, are the Maple Leafs really about to run it back, ... again? I mean, is that...
So you want to know some inside baseball? I am, like, probably unique at The Athletic. I insist on, like, I try to make sure the headline is mine, and I make sure I pick the picture too.
Wow.
Wow.
They tweaked it a little bit. They tweaked the headline a little bit, but sometimes, like, I don't get my way, but I always like to pick it. I like to be in control.
So that was you. That was a
My
picture.
stud finder's going off.
Yeah, that's a power break over there.
Yeah, I mean, that you lay out in the article, like, basically some of the options in that, but it's, do you believe wholeheartedly, like, that is the mantra? That's what they're going to do. Roll this group back again and just see, if eighth time is a charm.
I don't know. It's just like the closer we get to July 1, it's like, well, it feels like that. And yet again, like, the GM just took over on July 1. So maybe you would probably want to take this time seeing what William Nylander wants in his next contract before you trade him, wouldn't you? So I don't know. Like, I could make a case for both sides. I think I lean closer to, like, are you really going to keep the same team at its core together again? Like, that's kind of where I'm leaning. And yet I can understand if they wanted to make the argument, listen, like, these are really talented players. If we try to trade them, we're not going to get full value back. At some point, like, it's going to happen for them. At some point, they're going to find another level. And I don't know, like, where are you guys at? Like, I kind of could understand them going that route, but, like, man, like, at some point, like, we see this in sports all the time, you change something significant.
Yeah.
Don't you? Like,
Jonas, we talked about it yesterday, and it was like, if they're going to bring basically the main cast of characters, the only way, and Hayes is kind of looking at it from a fan base point of view, which I understand is important, but I'm in the business of winning. That's all I care about. As far as, even as an analyst, I'm like, you could do whatever you want to do, man. I just want to see somebody that puts a winning product out there. And I really don't care how you go about doing it. They tried to do something different where it was like, we're going to skill this thing to death and we're going to be better than everyone else. And that failed. And the way that everyone could look at it differently is if you got an elite goaltender and some top flight defenseman back there where you're like, man, those guys are going to log a lot of minutes, be big, strong, physical guys, and you've got an elite goaltender. Instead of the makeshift, we're going to go pick something off a scrap heap and see if it works and try to win a cup with it.
The goalie part is really interesting, too, because we're kind of just, like, penciling in that Samsonov is just going to be the same.
I wouldn't. I'm not penciling that in. No way.
You shouldn't. But, like, the other thing is, like, it would be different if, like, this team went to, like let's say 2 years ago they went to the conference final or whatever the hell that was called that one year. And, like, last year they went to, like, let's say they went to the third round and, like, they'd had some playoff victories. Like, they hadn't won the cup, but, like, we saw things along the way. They won one round. And, like, granted, like, fine, that's nice, but like 1 round is supposed to be like real progress. Like, it really, when you look at other organizations, it's not really much. I mean, that's the other part that I just can't kind of spin my head around. Like, I can understand like you wanting to believe in these guys and think eventually it's going to happen for you, but there's just not a lot of evidence to back it up. Like, maybe you could say, well, this year, you know, some of the star players, especially in that first round series against Tampa, like, they kind of came through. They came through a bit. But it's 1 round. Like, you have to do it 4 times. Mm-hmm. And we just, like, it kind of boggles my mind a little bit that they would not be. I mean, maybe they are. That's the thing. Like, maybe they are pursuing trades and we just don't know about them. But I just don't know how you just don't look, how you just don't call around the league and say, you know, what if we were to trade Mitch Marner, or we were to trade William Nylander, what would you get back? Like, what would that look like?
Well,
yeah, that's exactly it.
You know, in the article you point out, and it's Brad Treliving traded Dougie Hamilton for Lindholm and Hanifin. Now, you know, again, not every trade is going to be a home run, but if you're getting good players, but your team just looks different, that's where I'm kind of leaning. I'm not running anybody out of town here, not one of the core 4. But what I'm saying is, if your team, if that core 4, if maybe one of them has to go, the player that you bring in better be different than the other 3 as far as their demeanor, the way that they play, because it's clear them being that top heavy and all 4 of them play kind of the same way, the same demeanor. So I would, if I'm going to move one guy out, the guy I bring in or the multiple guys I bring in better have a different look and different feel to it to add to my group.
Well, I think there's a number of things to unpack on that too, because I've seen this kind of consistent narrative that speaks to the concern that if you trade one of these players, Marner and or Nylander, you're just giving up on talent, as if you wouldn't be acquiring talent in return.
Right.
Like, everyone just looks at it from the one-sided perspective. Well, if you take Mitch off, that's a lot of talent. Well, obviously you wouldn't do it unless you got talent in return, which would clearly happen.
You're not moving the guy for a donkey.
Well, it's not, exactly. Like, and that doesn't come up enough. This
Jonathan Huberdeau for Matthew Tkachuk is a great example. It's one guy who was ultra scaled, was nominated was in a top 5 for a Hart Trophy conversation. The other guy played a different game and played a different way.
You're right, but here's the thing. Jonas points out, and I'll bring this up, Jonas, Taylor Hall for Adam Larson. That's where people get scared.
Right?
Well, and also the deal that you just referenced, though, which happens to be featuring the new GM here in Toronto. Huberdeau was awful this year, and Tkachuk's up for the Hart. So it looks incredibly one-sided right now. But then you mentioned the other dude. Dougie Hamilton's a really good player.
Unbelievable
player. But Lindholm and Hanifin are really good players.
Right. Like, it sometimes balances out. And I think we all believe that Huberdeau, over the life of his contract, he's going to be better than he was.
He has to be. And Tkachuk's not going to be up for the Hart every year. Exactly. He may never be up for it again. That doesn't mean he's not going to be a great player.
Right.
So, I don't know. There's I said last hour, Jonas, that I feel like with the Leafs in particular, with their approach to these guys and the report that Shanahan, before he had even hired a GM, had reportedly reached out to the 4 players, the core 4, and said, you know, it's up. If we're up to me, you're coming back. That's not. It's moved from patience, like we're patiently waiting for them to break through, to complacency. Like, we're complacent with this, and if it works, obviously that'd be great. But if it doesn't, we're fine. Like, that's kind of the attitude I'm picking up on. Is we're okay with this, and we're just going to keep doing this, and that's kind of the sales pitch.
Yeah, and it started to feel to me like the last couple of years with Dubas and Shanahan, going back to that. What is it, 21, the Montreal series?
Yes, 21.
It's almost like they've fully bought into that narrative. Like, you kept hearing them say, you know what, you just get, like, we believe in these guys. You see these teams all the time. They believe in their guys again and again and again, even when it's really hard. And then eventually they reward you. And, like, in some cases that's true.
Sure.
But in a lot of cases it's just not. And in most cases, I think, like this, it would have been not blown up, but one of those guys would have been traded after 21. and it didn't.
But there's always the Washington Capital example where those.
And the St. Louis Blues, right?
Yeah, the St. Louis Blues and the Washington Capitals. Maybe if you just tinker and tinker and tinker like a guy in his garage drinking beers,
Yeah.
maybe sometimes it'll work.
Well,
but who knows? I don't know.
Okay,
I
so-
find it crazy to continue to watch the same thing. I really do.
So you're right. And in thinking that, where you've had a core that's been together for many years, and you're like, okay, maybe one more year they push through. There might be a scenario, and I'll bring it up, the Winnipeg Jets. You know, where the players are like, okay, maybe it's our turn to leave. Like, it's our time to leave. Like, that core has been given a long runway. And they, for a long time, I thought they were a fantastic team. And, they didn't make it this year again. And it's a situation where it's now you've got three guys basically on their way out, potentially. Hellebuck, Pierre-Luc Dubois, and Mark Scheifele. That's blowing up the core. Now, that's them doing it. But at some point, like, not every core works out like St. Louis or Washington. It could be Winnipeg or San Jose for many years. How many years was it San Jose was close and knocking on the door, and they stripped captaincies and moved, deck chairs around, but they were a good team, but couldn't break through.
Yep. And never ended up
did.
actually doing it. So
that's where I think people are torn on, Jonas, is do you run it back? Great, no problem. Continue to give them an opportunity. Or, at some point, does that fail and they do it for you like Winnipeg?
Well, and it's not a failure to trade one of those guys. That's not to say like you're going to make a good trade, but there's nothing wrong with doing that. Like, that's sports, right? You try a mix, you try, and maybe it just doesn't work for whatever reason. Like, that's okay. You can find a trade and make a trade. And I think to Hayes' point, like, you can't just keep saying, well, there's no trade out there that we can make that's going to make us better. Really? There's nothing? Like, there's nobody who's going to offer you anything good for really great players? I just find that really hard to believe. And I think that was something along the years. Like, remember all the talk about trading Nylander and such? And I mean, we had some battles about that, remember? But, like, one of the things that the Leafs would say is, like, there's no trade we can make that's going to get us back equal value in return, which fine. But at a certain point, to Nudo's point, like, maybe you just do something to make yourself different. Like, I'm playing around with a Nylander story for later in the week, and I was looking at, like, some wingers even that would just be different from Nylander. And, like, Pavel Buchnevich is, like, one of the names that I looked at. I was like, no, but St. Louis want to trade him? Like, maybe not, but he's different from Nylander. You know what I mean? Like, so maybe you just get someone who is not the same style of player, and maybe they're on a good contract, and maybe that team wants to sign Nylander, and maybe you can expand it. And maybe, like Elias Lindholm in Calgary makes some sense in some sort of trade. He needs a contract. I don't know. Like, it just feels like you got. Yeah. I mean, he's different, and he's signed. I don't know.
Like, I'm just throwing names out there. You're right. Like, there are very good players out there that might need a change of scenery as well on teams that are maybe heading in different directions. That's all. Like, it just, I think you have to be, and believe me, Brad Treliving is a guy that will be turning over every stone to try and make this team better and more competitive. Not that they aren't. They're 111.
Well, that's
points.
the thing. They're in a very advantageous position that the way they're built now, and if you put the right pieces together, that's why I think Sheldon Keefe being retained from a regular season standpoint makes sense, because he's a good regular season coach.
Right.
Now, he's not proven that he's a winning playoff coach, but neither have the players. So I don't know, is it the chicken or the egg on that front? But
like, go back in a time machine, guys. Imagine if I told you after Game 5, whenever the hell that was, that they're just going to bring everyone back. It would have blown your mind. You would have been like, there's no chance. There's no way they're going to do that. And yet,
zero.
Well, but they did the same thing the year before. They did the same thing the year before that, right? Like against the Montreal series, the belief was, well, clearly something's going to change, and it hasn't. But and I think there's an element of fear that they're going to get it wrong.
Yeah.
As opposed to,
well, it's already wrong. So what the hell's the difference?
I'm just saying, like, you could be, you want to be progressive. Like, look at a team like the Islanders that needs scoring. Like, maybe you could try and get a guy like Noah Dobson, who's like a really unbelievable defenseman. 23 years old. that's a guy like again.
Noodles, do you think the Islanders are going to
I don't
flip
think they
Noah
would.
Dobson?
But my point is if they need scoring, and they identify that maybe that's what they need to do, you have to be at least explore everything. And I love that Dobson. I think he's an unbelievable player. But again, I don't know if Lou would cover that. I don't know if that would be the trade. But it's just you've got to be looking at everything. And it comes back to the conversation is I don't know if teams know who's available and who's not.
Yeah. And
Up
Jamie,
here, Toronto, you mean? Or, yeah.
Just a note, guys. I just got a note on Twitter. The Capitals did make some change. They moved away from Mike Green and Semin. So that's pretty significant change, right?
Yeah.
And that's the thing. The Leafs might say, well, look, like we let Zach Hyman go and like we let Bozak and then Riemsdyk and like Frederick Anderson and Jack Campbell. But like it's not the same, right? Like the roster is built in such a way that those guys are making so much of your cap. And like Noodles said, they're similar players. Like, I don't know, like those two, I know those two examples get cited a lot. I just don't think they're great examples, honestly.
Jonas, at the end of the day, we're either at the end of the next playoff series, if they lose, we're going to say, that's insane that they thought that was going to be different.
Yeah.
Or if they go on some magical run, we'll say, what patience and belief in those guys. Great job. It's going one or two ways. End of story. So we'll see how it plays
out. They're
out.
just going to come out afterwards and say, we're going to run it back again.
Well, that's the thing. Like, but that's in all honesty.
We've had this
Why would it be any different next year? Like if let's say they have 110 points, win a round, lose in the second round, why would you expect anything different? Like the playbook is just the playbook. It's almost vindictive now. It almost is. It's like Shanahan's like, I'm going to prove it. Like we are going to prove that these guys are going to be the ones to parade the streets of Toronto. Like,
yeah.
And if not, we're all going down with the ship. And if that's the case, okay. But what I would say is, if that's the case, these players better start reciprocating that type of loyalty and better start paying it back. Because you referenced Winnipeg, that now some of the guys want to leave. You never hear that out of these guys.
Right.
And all you hear is Willie wants to come back. Austin wants to come back. Mitch loves it. John's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
Like, man, they treat these guys like kings.
Yep.
They treat them like kings. They pay them like kings, a king's ransom. And the hierarchy of the club is just going to go back to bat for them year after year after year. And well, we'll see if they repay it. And I think one way they can do it before you even get on the ice is to negotiate in good faith and prove you want to be here by not dragging your feet.
Woodshedding too. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Asking for every dime.
Not
they're going
asking
to.
for every single dime. Well, we'll see. All right, Jonas. Good stuff,
All right,
man.
son.
I'm sure we'll see you again in here soon. And have yourself a fun couple of weeks. It should be active, you would think. And if it's not, then as you pointed out, that's a fair amount of talking points as well. Because if they kind of go back to the well, then people are going to be buzzing in this town. That's for sure.
Yep. Thanks,
All right,
buddy.
buddy. Thanks, Jonas. There he is, Jonas Siegel of The Athletic, joining us here on the Maple Toyota Hotline. Build your next dream Toyota at Maple Toyota and check out Maple Toyota's pre-owned inventory. Arriving daily, it's time to Toyota. Visit mapletoyota.com. Again, with all this said, you almost have to qualify it by saying there's still a lot of offseason left.
Yes.
Anything could happen. The Leafs aren't going to come out daily and give you updates on what they're thinking or who they're talking to.
No.
Anything is possible.
Yep.
But
it's coming to a head. Like July 1st is right around the corner. So, I mean.
right. Within a few weeks, you're going to have a pretty
There's
clear
going to be
idea
some
of what's
action.
going to happen.
I don't know what it is, but
Yep.
there'll be some action.
For sure. Confirm and deny still to come. MJ still to come. Kevin Pelton of ESPN as well on a lot of different rumors in the NBA. And Gary Trent Jr. opting into his contract for next year.
I never thought I'd hear that word, opting in.
I know. In the NBA,
I haven't heard it forever, dude.
Nobody opts in. Nobody. And yet Gary Trent Jr., who had a down year, is probably going to say, all right, I'll come back at that price. He's still making over $18 million.
Yeah, he'll
Dude,
be all right.
I saw the tweet,
fine.
and I'm like, that guy hit the email wrong. Like, he hit in instead of out.
Yeah, something's up. Something's up. And Zion Williamson is in the news, and man, is he trending on Twitter these days.
What is he doing now?
Well, it's the same kind of story as last week, and
This guy.
man, but like, there's some weird stuff going on.
Yeah.
Like the woman that I guess he's had a relationship with, who is she's a porn star. Her Twitter account has now been suspended, I believe, because she was threatening some wild stuff.
Yeah.
And it's getting, but now he's out there by all accounts on the trade block. He barely plays. Like trying to get a read on the value of Zion Williamson.
Dude, isn't that a
gotta
story?
be difficult to do.
That guy was jumping out of gyms at Duke, and you're like, this is going to be the next greatest thing.
Yeah.
Now he has porn stars complaining about his behavior on Twitter.
Yeah.
He can't stay healthy or play in a game.
And he might get flipped. And I'm not sure what they're going to get in return.
It's a greasy world out there, man. Things come at you quickly.
Yep. Keep your head on a swivel. There's no
Keep
question
your
about
head
that.
on a swivel because you never know.
Yeah. So more on that later this afternoon. Confirm or deny, we'll get to that next.
I can neither confirm or deny that this is in fact a segment.
Austin trades Andrew Raycroft to Toronto in exchange for the rights to Tuukka Rask.
It's been my honor and a privilege to serve as the general manager of the Toronto Maple Leafs Hockey Club.
It's time for Confirm or Deny.
Do you regret giving all those gentlemen the no trades or no movement clauses?
Well, I can neither confirm or deny that.
I can't confirm or deny.
All right, Confirm or Deny brought to you by Don Valley North Lexus. Right now, lease the 2023 NX 350 F Sport Series 1 from just $358 bi-weekly for 39 months. Visit DonValleyNorthLexus.com for all of the details. All right, confirm or deny. Very simple. We know the way this works.
Yep.
Statements are made. We go around the table. We confirm, we deny. Can't Fergie any of this. All right, can't sit on the fence.
Well, there might be a mashup. Confirm or deny or truth serum.
Okay, that's something we can possibly work in.
I can neither confirm or deny
I can't confirm or deny if truth serum could be a part of
So
this.
you
at
maybe
some
have
point.
an option. You got to confirm or deny, or the voice goes, here's a statement. And you say, is that truth serum or is that false?
Okay.
You know?
Yeah. There's a lot of possible options.
lots
That's got to
with
be a
truth.
new segment.
We got a wrinkle.
Truth,
Yeah, we got some wrinkles there. We got iron now, but it's all good. All right, confirm or deny. John Schneider, the manager of the Jays, is taking appropriate amount of heat for their recent struggles.
Yeah.
Appropriate amount.
I think it's appropriate, confirm, because when you've got really talented players like that and they're going to go in and you sign a player like Belt and he says we should be favored as World Series champions, that's a strong statement. So they had this big belief in their club, and when they go out and show the nonsense that they've shown time and time again, and this has been going on for a good couple months, let's not kid ourselves. This hasn't just creeped up the last 2 days. He's the one responsible for just getting them to play. That's the bottom line. Like, they're under his watch, and it's like, what are you doing? Do they not have enough respect for him? Mm-hmm. There was, like, base running problems, effort problems. Do they not have enough respect for Schneider to be doing that nonsense? So he's got to wear some of it.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm confirming it. I think that the manager kind of drives the bus, even though he can't go out and hit and catch and do all those things. But people are frustrated, and a lot of times it's the people above the players that it's easier to change the manager than change all the players. We say that all the time. Change the coach instead of trading the players. That's where I find all the vitriol is, whether it's deserved or not. And I think he's gotten enough of it. Some of it might not be deserved, but, he's got to wear it.
Yeah, he does. I do question if they take him seriously with the whole, I'm not going to say tough guy act, but it was all, all business all the time. And we're going to be, here on time and ready to play. We're going to run the bases hard. We're going to defend, and we're going to be a serious club.
What about this one? This team's too good. Too good to play like that.
Right.
Like,
too good to play like that. We're going to get rid of the home run jacket, all that kind of stuff, where he has tried to be somewhat of a sheriff, and I'm not sure they take it seriously. Right. I think that speaks to the modern athlete, quite frankly. I think it's a difficult thing to do as a young manager. But I'm actually going to deny this because I think it feels like to me, and this is purely arbitrary and I guess somewhat anecdotal, like just speaking with people and tracking stuff online, that it feels like he's getting like 80% of the play. Like John Schneider is getting buried all the time.
Yeah. Why is he on a scale higher than Vladdy, Hayes?
But that's what I'm saying. Like for me, the players are not getting appropriate enough heat.
I know.
The manager, I believe, is a puppet when it comes to bullpen maneuvers. Now, you have to have instincts,
right,
and his instincts have not been strong. But I do believe there is an analytically driven philosophy to how he goes to the bullpen. Also, parts of that bullpen are, quite frankly, putrid. You got guys that stink, and you're like, if you go to them, you're probably in trouble. But those are the options, right? Like that's that. So I think the management deserves a lot more heat than they're getting, a lot more heat. But I think the players deserve a lot more heat. And a lot of the issues this year have been simply, can you get a big hit at a big moment?
Right.
And that's not on John Schneider. It's never been on the manager for the best player, in this case Vladdy, to step up and say, I need a hit from you.
No
There's
kidding.
nothing
And
John
Hayes,
Schneider can do that will get that hit.
I've told you in the past how it drives me nuts sometimes. Think about the scenario where it's Austin Matthews, who is just an absolute dog for a couple months, and the team is abysmal. He would be on the front page of the Toronto Sun every damn day.
Yeah.
I haven't heard a peep about him. All people keep saying is he's hitting it hard. Who cares?
Right. Well, that's baseball in a nutshell. I get
What
it's a
do you
different
mean that's
sport.
baseball? It's the same city. It's the same people that are reporting on it.
Right.
Aren't you afraid? Like, don't you think people are afraid that he just goes, "I'm out of here"? Like,
let's be honest.
Well, the same would apply for Austin Matthews.
I think it happens with Matthews too. I don't think Matthews takes nearly as much heat as you're claiming he does at poor moments. Right. I think Mitch Marner does. I think historically Canadians do. I think Willie has. I think there's always been a concern in Toronto that the kid from Arizona may say, I don't need it here.
Right.
And there might be an element of that when it comes to Vladdy, when it comes to Bichette. But listen, he has not performed up to expectation, nowhere close to it. He leaves guys on base all the time. The last time he's had a big hit, I can't even tell you. He literally doesn't hit home runs at home. Literally doesn't.
Does he have one yet?
No, he literally does not hit home runs at the Rogers Center. He's got 9 home runs on the season. He's got an OPS under 800. He doesn't slug. Forget home runs. Give me a double tonight.
Yeah.
Round the bases tonight. But it's and to your point, and what I was trying to drive at was in baseball circles, it's, well, the underlying numbers suggest this, and his at-bats are okay, and he's not striking out a ton, and he's hitting with exit velocity. But all of it doesn't matter when you're reviewing the game.
Right.
And you say you lost again, and Vladdy did that. So I don't know how we got on this tangent, because this was a John Schneider.
Isn't this a confirm or deny?
Maybe that's a little truth serum.
There's the truth
I
serum.
think
You
we
got
went
hit
over the
with
top with a little truth serum on top of everything.
Damn straight.
All right, John Herdman was really forthright the other night, complaining down in Vegas
Yes, he was.
about the lack of funding for the Canadian national team. That was after they got spanked by the Americans. Confirm or deny, John Herdman was correct to complain about funding issues right after the loss to the U.S.
If everyone else is getting the funding and you're not, obviously you should complain about it. It's embarrassing. Like, why can't they? Were just at the World Cup, and they're a host coming up, and they don't have the proper funding. It's an embarrassment. Sorry. But you know what else is an embarrassment? There's hospitals around this province that need funding too, so that's also embarrassing.
Right.
So if you don't have the funding, it should be brought to somebody's attention.
Yeah. I mean,
guess
you're saying
I'm
it's
saying
a tough look because right after you lose.
The timing.
Look at this.
Like, it's, hey, don't look at that. Like, don't forget about what's going on here.
But
And
dude,
they got
there is
stuff
no
coming
timing for a complaint like that. You do it when there's going to draw the most attention and all the eyes are on you.
Yeah.
So if it's after a loss and you know everyone wants to hear what you have to say, bring it up.
Yeah, that's why I'm going to confirm it.
Yeah.
That's when you have your platform. The fact of the matter is, soccer is still, Herdman's been great for this program. He was great for the women's program. He's been great for the men's program. He's an easy guy to like. He's had some hiccups. We know what he said about, Croatia and how that blew up in his face at the World Cup.
Right.
But he's an Englishman. He looks at the sport differently than Canadians do. The fact is, the sport has grown exponentially in my lifetime. The national programs, both on the men's side and the women's side, are way more popular today and get way more attention today than they have at any point in my life. But it's still a sport that is well behind other sports in this country. Yeah. Like, we're going to witness this, and we'll get to this Messi. I got to confirm it that I am Messi in a bit. Messi, he's going to make his debut. It sounds like July 21st. That's Lionel Messi. The rest of the world, I'm sure, will assume he shows up the States and is a rock star immediately. I don't think that's going to happen.
You don't think so?
Yeah,
Because
that's the most insane thing you've ever said on this show.
I'm telling you, he will cause a big stir with soccer fans. There will be a ton of attention on him. But if he's standing here and Tom Brady's standing here, guess where the media is going to go?
Right.
They're going to Tom.
No.
They're going to Aaron Rodgers. They're going to Patrick Mahomes.
I'm going to get the video of Messi in Miami going to dinner.
Here,
I'm telling you, he'll never be on the same level as
that's a reckless and egregious comment.
I got one for you. That day or the day before, LeBron James will do something.
Exactly. And you know what they'll be talking about? LeBron. They'll be talking about
Tiger
LeBron.
Woods all of a sudden is chipping balls in his backyard and puts a video out. Like that will happen.
That's what I'm indicating. Around the world, like you put Messi and LeBron beside each other in Barcelona, Messi's getting all the attention.
Right.
You put Messi and LeBron in Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Ooh. Messi, I don't know, man. Anyway, that's a completely different confirm.
That's truth serum.
I'm stamping on that, or I'm stomping on that. But as for the Herman comments, and I don't know how much of it is true. I don't know exactly what the finances are. I don't know exactly what they're going through. But we're going to be hosting in a few years. You better be ready to rock.
You better be funding.
And I understand his frustration.
I'm confirming it. You better be funding.
Confirm or deny. The Raptors running back their core would be a sign Masai Ujiri has lost his fastball. It's a harsh one.
Yes.
Confirm.
Yeah, totally.
You're confirming.
Confirm. It's just like anything else. How long can you keep watching that? The same players, you're going to say they have to play with more excitement and more jam, and they're not good enough. Everybody knows that. So what are we even talking about? I would agree with that. If you look at that team and think they're going in any particular direction other than mediocrity, Hayes, you know the NBA way more than I do. But how could you think that team is any more than what it's been achieving the last couple of years? That would be insane to think that.
Yeah, I can't imagine he thinks,
then what the hell's the plan?
Well,
last year, he kept all his players. He added one. It's like, what is that plan?
And now the
guy
reports,
makes $20 million a year.
Right. Now
what is that?
Reports Pirtle doesn't want to be a part of a rebuild, and obviously wants to get paid appropriately.
Why didn't you ask that when you traded for him?
Well,
but can you add to that core and still that's
what he's thinking. Like the reports are that teams are looking at what Miami just did and saying, well, if they did it, we can do it.
Right.
So I think that's a dangerous game.
I know, but I'm saying if you feel like the core you like, but now you need to add more to it. Mm-hmm. If that's the way you're going, then I should confirm it or deny it?
Deny it.
I'm denying it then because I think that's where he's headed.
I'm going to deny it as well. I don't think it indicates he's lost his fastball. I think it will be difficult for him to explain.
Right.
But I think his explanation will likely be we have a new coach.
Yep.
We're going to try to add shooters. We're going to try to add, I think they need depth in the backcourt. And I think he would argue, and he likely will, I've been patient in the past, and I'm going to wait to pounce. And the nature of the NBA, it moves quick.
Yep.
Guys become available out of nowhere every few months, big players. And so I think Masai could possibly sell, even if I'm keeping these guys right now, that doesn't mean in 6 months they'll still be here.
Right.
So I'll deny it. All right, here we go quickly. Lionel, confirm or deny. Lionel Messi will immediately become an A-list American sports figure.
Didn't we just talk? Am I high, or did you not just talk about this?
But it wasn't meant to come up at that point. I don't even know why we got to Messi, but we did. We brought him up somewhat.
It's 100% confirmed. 100%.
Really?
Joe from the Bridge, please find the video of him having dinner in Miami. Please.
Well, yes.
He can't get out of the restaurant. They have to call in.
Was that in Miami? I thought that was in Argentina.
It was in Spain.
Kaylin Kyle, who does some work for us, she was down in Miami and she had a comment. That's how I saw. She said, guys, we need to leave this guy alone. He was in Miami and people were coming by the thousands to look inside this restaurant.
Okay.
The thousands.
Do you think that happens everywhere in the States or just
Miami?
Yes,
I do.
Really?
Yes, I do.
You think that cat walks into a restaurant in Seattle and they got to close the shop down because Messi? I don't believe that for a second. I don't believe it for a second.
You don't even understand the truth in this matter.
Yeah, I do, because I'm taking True Serum, and I'm about to hand it out. The True Serum is here, and I just don't believe a soccer player playing in MLS, regardless of how massively popular, arguably the greatest player of all time.
You know what?
The States is a different beast. The U.S. is different.
You know who I want to talk to at 4:15 tomorrow? Stevie Caldwell, and he.
You can't ask Stephen Caldwell. He's a football guy. He's a soccer guy.
You know why? Because he'll give you
say,
True Serum that you won't like, and you'll spit it out.
No, listen. Messi will be a massive attraction. It is going to be huge for ticket sales, for buzz. What I'm saying, when you talk A-list, you're talking Tom Brady, LeBron James.
You know who is in that list who's a soccer player? It's Beckham. Because of the looks.
But Beckham, is Beckham an A-list American sports figure? I don't believe so.
I feel like
he's a celebrity.
I feel like he's world renowned. David Beckham. Everyone knows who David Beckham is.
Of course.
Now, Messi,
hold on a second. We have confirmation on where that restaurant was. Go ahead, JP.
Joe from the Bridge has confirmed that dinner was in Buenos Aires, which is the capital of Argentina.
Thank you. Miami. What are you, a buffoon? You think this guy was at an Applebee's in Miami?
People in South Beach just running. People in marble banks running up.
Kyle, he reaches out, he drags her through the mud. You owe her an apology. There's no way she said that.
Joe from the Bridge, please do your job and find the video. It's in Miami.
Dude,
Miami.
There's no way Americans.
JP, take that back, saying it was in Buenos Aires.
No, I remember it vividly. It was in Buenos Aires.
It was. Yes,
right after the World Cup.
Right after the World Cup.
Yes, of course in Buenos Aires that's going to happen.
That's not the video. That's not the video.
I know the one you're talking about. This isn't the one.
That guy's in Buenos Aires right there.
He was in Miami at a two-step. I'm going to find it. I'm going to show it on this show.
If you find it, we'll show it, and I will issue a full apology, and I will revert into a confirm that this guy will be at the Mount Rushmore type sports figure in the U.S.
JP, come on, man.
Confirm and deny. Brought to you by Don Valley North Lexus. Right now, lease the 2023 NX350 F Sports Series 1 from just $358 bi-weekly for 39 months. Visit DonValleyNorthLexus.com for all of the details. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 4.
Well. As they say, looky what we have here. First, I would like you to hear... No, stop this. Stop it, Joe from the Bridge. Please take it off. Please take it off. I want to hear JP trying to sewer me with this answer. Go ahead, JP.
Joe from the Bridge has confirmed that dinner was in Buenos Aires, which is the capital of
I love the way he says Buenos Aires, too. He was really...
Yes.
No. He was trying to sewer me.
Yeah.
He was trying to sewer me.
The capital of Argentina, as if we don't know that. Is that what you're indicating, JP? We're three buffoons in here? Okay.
Yeah, Buenos Aires, he goes. Oh, thanks, JP. Now let's, Joe from the Bridge, play Miami. Go ahead. This is in Miami at Cafe Ritzia. This is Messi in the restaurant trying to... Look at that.
There's like 5 people outside.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
Really?
Completely
5
staged.
people. And you can apologize to Kaylin Kyle because she's the one that commented on the video saying, guys, we got to give this guy some privacy.
That's barely anything. That's
like
not
a high school dance. There's literally maybe 100 people there. There's 100 people
morons.
There. That's Messi trying to create a buzz that he's in Miami. That's him trying to get people to realize, hey,
those
I'm Lionel
are paid
Messi.
Fake fans.
I wouldn't be shocked.
There is that many people trying to get into the club next door.
Exactly. That's a lineup to get into the club.
Like it is. That's
and then
Miami
Messi's
Beach.
like, hey, security, you better take care of me. Everyone out there's like, who the hell's that guy?
It's like, why is this guy?
You can apologize any second, Hayes, because
I'm looking at the video.
For 3 weeks, you said there's no video in Miami.
Maybe 4 people outside, and I think a lot of people are trying to get into the club right beside it.
Yeah.
So there's an element of fake news.
What's that bar on the strip there in Miami Beach? The Cadillac or Catalina? The Liner.
Yeah, it's probably.
I was down in Miami Beach with a guy who wears tight pants. We spent a few days down there.
Couple of peeks inside the liner. Yeah. Listen, Messi, I'm not disputing what he represents around the world.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is, A-list, that's LeBron, Brady. He's not going to be there in the States. Final hour coming up next. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on the TSN app.